Many bulls have surrounded me. Strong bulls of Bashan have encircled me. They gape at me with their mouths like a raging and roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, it is melted within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue clings to my jaws. You have brought me to the dust of death, for dogs have surrounded me. The congregation of the wicked has enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. They look and stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, be not far from me. O my strength, hasten to help me. Deliver me from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth, and from the horns of the wild oxen. You have answered me. My name's Arthur. I thank you for joining me as we continue meditating in Psalm 22, a psalm of David, so it was written 1,000 years before Jesus was crucified, and yet it portrays in great detail the things that happened to him on the cross. When we want to see about the trial of Jesus, we can turn to Isaiah 53, where we find he was rejected. But here in Psalm 22, we find details of the crucifixion at a time when crucifixion was not practiced 1,000 years before. And to make that point, let us read from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 27, the details he gives of the crucifixion of the Lord. From verse 32, Now as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name, and they compelled him to bear his cross. And when they had come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, place of a skull, they gave him sour wine mingled with gall to drink. But when he had tasted it, he would not drink. Then they crucified him, and divided his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. Sitting down, they kept watch over him there, and they put up over his head the accusation written against him, This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. Then 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. And those who passed by blasphemed him, wagging their heads and saying, You who destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you're the Son of God, come down from the cross. Likewise the chief priests also, mocking with the scribes and the elders, said, He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he is the King of Israel, let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God. Even the robbers who were crucified with him reviled him with the same thing. Now from the 6th hour until the 9th hour there was darkness over all the land. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? Some of those who stood there, when they heard it, they said, This man is calling for Elijah. And immediately one of them ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it on a reed, and offered it to him to drink. The rest said, Let him alone. Let us see if Elijah will come to save him. And Jesus cried out again with a loud voice, and yielded up his spirit. Then, behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth quaked, and the rocks were split, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city, and appeared to many. The centurion and those with him, who were guarding Jesus, saw the earthquake and the things that had happened. They feared greatly, saying, Truly, this was the Son of God. Now the remarkable parallel between Psalm 22 and Matthew's Gospel. He points out that David's prophecy was fulfilled in detail. First of all, he indicates that Jesus was meditating on this psalm. At the ninth hour, that's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when the light returned, because it was dark from midday till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Jesus, with a loud voice, cries out the first words of Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me? He couldn't shout out the whole psalm because he was so physically exhausted by that point from all that he had suffered. But nevertheless, he points out that this psalm is being fulfilled at this particular time. We read last time the verse that says, all those who see me ridicule me. They shoot out the lip, they shake their head, saying, he trusted in the Lord, let him rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. This is exactly what they called out. The chief priests, the scribes, the elders, the thieves, everyone who gathered around the cross came to look at him and to mock him and ridicule him. And he didn't come down in judgment upon them. He bore it all. In fact, as they gathered around him, they gave him some drink that would drug him a little bit and ease the pain, but he refused to take that. He suffered the full pain of the cross. It says, many bulls have surrounded me, strong bulls of Bashan have encircled me. You can imagine the fear of a person who is surrounded by wild beasts attacking him. Well, that's exactly what was happening to the Lord Jesus. But he did not fear, though everyone was gathered against him. They gape at me with their mouths like a raging and roaring lion. Jesus was down and they were going to kick him as hard as they could. The details of the crucifixion are described in these words in Psalm 22. I'm poured out like water, all my bones are out of joint. As you hang on the cross, your bones get dislocated. My heart is like wax, it is melted within me. You use all your strength to lift yourself up so that you can breathe, but it hurts to lift yourself up, and so it is very strenuous and exhausting. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue clings to my mouth. He cried out, I thirst. They offered him vinegar and sour wine to drink. You have brought me to the dust of death. And it was not just any old death. He didn't just die in his sleep. He died in this excruciating way. For dogs have surrounded me. Dogs generally are a picture of Gentiles who had no time at all for Jesus. The soldiers there were just doing their job. They'd been commissioned to crucify this man, and they did. The congregation of the wicked has enclosed me. These were the Jewish people who rejected God's will for themselves, and so they pierced my hands and my feet, as is done in crucifixion. I can count all my bones. They look and stare at me. They even divided his garments among them, the soldiers who crucified him. And for my clothing they cast lots. Yes, he had a special outer gown, and they said, let's not tear it, let's cast lots for it. O Lord, be not far from me. O my strength, hasten to help me. Deliver me from the sword. What was the deliverance he was looking for? He could have come down from the cross as they challenged him, but no, the deliverance he was looking for was to enter into death and defeat death. And so he called at the end, into your hands I commit my spirit, and breathed his last. For all the pain and suffering, he had completed that which the Lord required of him. And so his life was delivered from the power of the dog. Death has no more power over him. He was saved from the lion's mouth, for he gave up his spirit. He was not killed by men. We sometimes refer to the fact that Jesus was murdered by these people because they were unjustified. But in fact, he gave his life. He had power to lay it down and power to take it again. And so our reading this morning, ending partway through the psalm, ended, you have answered me. The Father was pleased that Jesus endured the darkness of the cross and came through, still trusting in the Lord, knowing that he would lay down his life to take it again.